Elon Musk started Neuralink some time ago. He's a very dedicated transhumanist. He wants to conquer death ultimately. But we got to remember that the Great Reset doctrine at the World Economic Forum preaches this whole idea, the fourth industrial revolution, where technology and human flesh will be merged together. That means implantables. It may mean wearables as well, but implantables is what Neuralink is all about. Something that's going to be injected into your brain, and they're just basically getting started with this right now. It's still very early in its development, but where they're going with this is very, very disturbing. I think the end of it is going to be more disturbing than the beginning of it.
Let's watch a little of this and we'll have you comment. This is again,
Yes.
this is how Elon Musk's Neuralink microchip will be put in your brain. This is from back, I think, in 2020. I just found it. Watch this.
We've simplified this to simply something that is about the size of a large coin, and it goes in your skull, replaces a piece of skull, and the wires then connect within a few centimeters or about an inch away from the device.
You know, let me stop right there. You notice he says last summer you got all these wires going, and then today you got this, and this is back in 2020. I wonder at some point if it won't even be this, that you'll just take a pill, or you'll just get a shot, or I don't know, you'll have a mark on your right hand and your forehead. Makes you wonder why the mark on your forehead. Now this is starting to make a little more sense. Why the forehead, right? Maybe at that point you get a Neuralink on your forehead, and it doesn't require, you know, them nailing something to your skull like this. It can be very, very non-invasive. I mean, if they were able to go from that picture to the left, and then last summer, that being 2020, to just a few months later, boom. I mean, who knows how quick they could make this so simple that it's not even intrusive anymore.
Well, what they don't show you in this picture, I think you will a little bit later, are the very fine hair-like wires that are inserted into your brain. It's all done by computer now. This is beyond a human surgeon to do this. They're doing it by computer. But they cut the little hole, and then what they're inserting here, it's the size of a quarter. He's going to show it in just a second. There are threads that are actually conductive threads that actually get shot, if you will. I hate to use that word, but shot down into your brain. And they shoot them down so that they miss all, any capillaries or anything like that, so there's no bleeding. But the idea is to put these sensors into your brain so that then your brain begins to transmit data from the synapses in your brain out through this little computer port, which is on the top of your head. Now, theoretically, you could have multiple of these things embedded in your head for different purposes, in different parts of your brain. Right now, what they're sensing is to try and help paraplegics, for instance, use their brain with the signals in their brain to operate computers and operate robotic arms and stuff like that. People that can't move, they're paralyzed from the neck down and whatever. And this of course gets everybody excited. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. We want to help the paraplegics, and who doesn't? But when you look at the technology, it has to shoot something into your brain in order to extract signals from your brain. Then it's transmitted via Bluetooth from there to a computer, and it operates, and it triggers and operates a computer.
Wow. Okay, let's keep going. Here we go.
And this is sort of what it looks like. Yeah. This is our little device. It does, that thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place because they're just like little fine wires. I mean, frankly, to sort of simplify this, what we're, I mean, it's more complicated than this, but it's, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. So, and it's, yeah, so our current prototype, version 0.9, has about 1,000 channels. So that's about 100 times better than the next best consumer device that's available. And it's a 23 millimeters by 8 millimeters. It actually fits quite nicely in your skull because your skull is about 10 millimeters thick. So it fits. It goes flush with your skull. It's invisible, and all you can see afterwards is this tiny scar. And if it's under your hair, you can't see it at all. In fact, I could have a Neuralink right now, and you wouldn't know. Maybe I do. So, and it's also got all the things that you would expect to see, the sensors you'd expect to see in a smartwatch or a phone, like notional measurement, temperature, pressure. So there's actually a lot of functions that this device could do related to monitoring your health and warning you about a possible heart attack or stroke or other damage, as well as sort of convenience features like playing music. You do a lot. It's sort of like if your phone went at your brain or something. Yeah, maybe that's not a great analogy. Anyway, so it's also inductively charged. So it's charged in the same way that you charge a smartwatch or a phone. And so you can use it all day, charge it at night, and have full functionality. So you would really, it would be completely seamless, and yeah, no wires.
Except for having to plug it in at night and then roll over. I mean, I just gathered you plug it in like your cell phone. So what are you going to do? I'm all wrapped up in the cord at night.
I know you don't want to get wrapped around your neck. That's the other end of the umbilical cord, getting wrapped around your neck when you're 50 years old.
I think they're going to have to come a lot further before most people are going to volunteer to do this.
Well, look, this is coming. There's no doubt they're going to perfect it at some point. They're going to get it through the FDA for human testing, and some people are going to love this stuff. I guarantee it. They're going to absolutely crave it. Just like people used to line up around the block to get into the Apple store to get the first Apple Watch. It was insane. I remember that. I actually was driving by a store, and there was 2 or 3 people deep lined up around the block to get in the Apple store to get it. They love that stuff. But here's the thing. You notice how nonspecific he is about what this is going to be used for. He's not really talking so much about the paraplegics. He's talking about a consumer item. He's talking about, he's relating it to a Fitbit where, you wear on your wrist, where it tell you your heart rate and your blood pressure and stuff like that. Who the heck needs that with a plug in their head? But that's just kind of the beginning. When he talks about 1,024 channels right now, that's the maximum number of channels they have. He also said, I think it was a little bit earlier, he talked about increasing the technology by orders of magnitude. Now, order of magnitude is just add a 0 basically to whatever number you're looking at. So if you're looking at 1,024 channels today, with what they have when they insert those wires, those threads into your brain, he's looking now at the next leap up is going to be over 10,000 channels.
And what do you mean when you say 10,000 channels? I mean, it's not like watching television. What's going on here?
Well, that's right. It's not like watching television, but each channel represents an area of your brain where they can extract signals from it. In other words, whenever a neuron fires close to where that thread is, right, it will send a signal outside using that channel to the computer to say ping, ping. In fact, he shows something, I think, a little bit later with a little bit of noise and stuff where this is exactly what's happening. But if you consider right now it's just 1,024 channels, that's so rudimentary, it's not even funny. But he's talking about having 10,000 plus, and then he's talking about 100,000 plus channels. Basically completely taking over the human brain and allowing the human brain to send out massive amounts of signals of things going on in your brain, firing things. And you realize,
which means they could eventually try to tell what we're thinking. I've heard some of them say we want to get where we know what people are thinking. Now we're at Minority Report and arresting people before they commit a crime because we know what they're thinking, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And there's so many other ramifications to this that it'll come out in time. But I just happened to look at their website, Neuralink, and I did a little bit of examination to find out what they're talking about and so on. And, they talk about they're helping medical people right now with people with severe medical problems, but then they're kind of how to or where we're going. This is what it says. He says, we expect that as our devices continue to scale, now that means get bigger, right? Grow bigger by orders of magnitude. And as we learn to communicate with more areas of the brain, we will discover new non-medical applications for BCIs, that's brain-computer interface. Neuralink's long-term vision, now catch this, is to create BCIs that are sufficiently safe and powerful that the general population would want to have them. Period. And end of quote.
Good grief. And let me show
That's
you
right
this.
on their website.
This is
right on their website.
Amazing. Here's a surgical robot he shows later. Watch a little bit of this.
So this shows you at sort of close-up view, which I think is actually not too gruesome, of the electrodes being inserted in the brain. And if you look closely, you'll see that it's a little counterintuitive that if the electrodes are inserted very carefully, that there's no bleeding. And so if you have very tiny electrodes, and if they're inserted very carefully, so that the robot actually images the brain and makes sure to avoid any veins or arteries, so that the electrodes can be inserted with no noticeable damage. So you will have no noticeable neural damage in inserting the link. Yeah, like you sort of think like if you stab something with a wire, surely it will bleed, but actually at a really small scale, it does not. So what we have in pen number 1 is Joyce, and she does not have an implant. So here's Dorothy, and in the case of Dorothy, Dorothy used to have an implant, and then we removed the implant. So this is a very important thing to demonstrate is reversibility. So if you have a Neuralink and then you decide you don't want it, or you want to get an upgrade, and the Neuralink is removed, is it removed in such a way that you are still healthy and happy afterwards? And what Dorothy illustrates is that you can put in the Neuralink, remove it, and be healthy, happy, and indistinguishable from a normal pig. And so on the screen, you can see each of the spikes from the 1,024 electrodes. And then if she snuffles around, touches this snout in the ground, or you kind of feed her some food, pigs love food, then you can see the neurons will fire much more than when you're not touching the snout. And that's what's making the beeping sound. She's had the implant for 2 months. So this is a healthy and happy pig with an implant that is 2 months old and working well. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm not a pig, and I'm not going to do that.
I have nothing to say. This really says it all. This is crazy, but this is exactly what Klaus Schwab talks about when he talks about merging human flesh, humankind, with technology. This is exactly what he's doing with Neuralink. And it's not going to stop with a pig, I guarantee you.
No,
it's going to go ahead. It's going to advance. They're going to get to 10,000 channels, to 100,000 channels, maybe even to 1 million channels. Who knows? And by the time they're done, they will have a device that they can plant in somebody's brain. It's a two-way. Basically, it's a two-way street. You can extract information from it, but you'll also be able to put information in through the same Neuralink.
Technocracy.news. Technocracy.news is the website.